Abraham Lincoln.
We're not
comparing Abraham Lincoln to Darth Vader. Let's
define. We're not comparing him to Darth Vader. Although Darth Vader did try to unify the galaxy in a dark, twisted way. But.
There we go. So yeah.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Popcorn Bucket List. We have extra guests here today, so I'm in the small chair. It's more humiliating than I thought it would be. But hey, we're doing this first time ever. We've had two guests on PB. Thank you. First time ever, we've had two special guests here joining us today. Bailey and Derek, you've been on the channel before. It's great to have you on the show here. Finally, this weekend we are seeing the return of Indiana Jones. He's back in cinemas, one of the most iconic characters of all time. And I was thinking about that, and it reminded me, you guys pitched this idea to me months ago. I want to say December of 2022. And I was like, yeah, we'll get to it. It sounds great. I really wanted that. I've been thinking about it since then, just never got around to it. So finally, we're here to make what you call the Mount Rushmore of the most iconic movie characters of all time. I think I kind of was talking about ranking them. I don't think we won't necessarily rank them here today. I got my own criteria of how I came up with my four. So let's come up with a Mount Rushmore here of most iconic characters. But before we do that, let's define iconic. I think you guys kind of put it best originally. What was it when you said most iconic characters?
I feel like we banter back and forth on this.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate about.
In my mind, I would consider an iconic character someone that like all generations are going to recognize whether they've seen it or not. Mm-hmm. And so if you say the name, they immediately know I know what that is, if they're a fan or if they're not a fan.
You don't have to explain what movie they were in or what other like past thing they were in, something like that. Yeah. Something, it almost would be easier to say most recognizable, but I like iconic. Iconic sounds better. Yeah. It sounds more distinguished almost. So.
And also recognizable, is that like someone that you've seen? Because you could say like a character and maybe someone like doesn't even know what that person looks like, but they immediately know because of like pop culture.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it kind of going off of that, like I always ask myself, would someone in like the middle of nowhere in like a country that's far away know, if they see this character once, would they know who this is? Or if they are in a completely different generation, I guess it's kind of the same thing now that we're like talking about it, but I
took that a little bit into account too.
Yeah.
Like worldwide.
It's
easy to look at a lot of American movies and everything like that, but it's like, okay, did this reach worldwide recognition? And everything? These lists are not a competition. That being said, mine is going to beat all of yours. So let's get into it. Let's do a round table discussion here. First one, Derek, why don't you kick us off? What is your number one?
My number one. So like kind of how I like to look at it is I take Mount Rushmore itself, and I power rank the Mount Rushmore characters on their characters. I guess real life people, people
who shaped and molded our country and made it so we're at where
they're not
characters.
Yeah, they are influential people. So I take George Washington. Obviously, he's got the biggest head on there, and he's the first president, kind of founding father, most iconic. And so I would say most iconic. I'm gonna say that for you. Because you're something special for me. So I realize that now. So one of my I'll go a different direction here. I'm gonna start with Abraham Lincoln. And this is someone who is very awesome as well. Could be considered pretty much more important than George Washington in some aspects of it.
Ooh, okay.
But maybe is not viewed in the same way. And that person for me would be Darth Vader. Which that kind of Abraham Lincoln. We're not comparing Abraham Lincoln to Darth Vader. Let's
define. We're not comparing him to Darth Vader. Although Darth Vader did try to unify the galaxy in a dark, twisted way. But.
There we go. So let's start with that and say I'm not comparing the two together, but I'm just saying like his importance to characters. I think Darth Vader is the most likable villain of all time. the coolest villain of all time. The
maybe fan favorite villain of all time.
Fan favorite, like everything
we
see.
do almost like to cheer for him.
Exactly.
Yeah. I never thought of it that way, but we do.
Like Rogue One when he that lightsaber scene at the end of the movie. I was like pumped about that. It's like he's
yeah, get those rebels.
You should not be cheering for that, but he is so iconic and so memorable. His voice, the effects, the one-liners, even though there's been kind of debated on how that goes over the years. Like people forget Mandela effect. But yeah, I would say he's got to be on that list for sure.
No, that's a good answer. That's really good. And I never thought about Darth Vader, I guess, necessarily. But yes, I did. You do root for him. You do want, even at the end of not the last movie, episode 6, when he's talking with Luke, you want a nice moment there. Yeah. That's good.
You didn't have him on your list?
I didn't. No.
Oh, that's so surprising.
I thought that'd be kind of controversial.
That's the most obvious one.
I think that's how we kind of started this conversation because we watched Obi-Wan.
Oh, right.
Show.
Oh,
and
so he's especially fresher on your guys' mind.
Yeah, and that's why I started. I'm like, he's got to be like on the list of the. And then we started. That's how.
And then we kind of spitballed off of Star Wars. Like, would you consider Yoda another one, or no?
Can you have two characters of the same?
I mean, if the franchise is good enough. I mean, if you have two iconic characters from one franchise, that means you're doing something right.
Yeah.
I guess, really. So.
I don't know.
Bailey, what do you got? What's one of your first picks?
I feel like this is going to be a hot take. And it's technically a movie character. But I'm going to say Mickey Mouse.
That's a movie character. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This shirt makes more sense now. I didn't know why you'd be wearing Packers stuff here. But
okay.
That makes sense. It makes sense now. I get it.
Don't worry. I judged her before we left. Like, that shirt?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like
we'll censor it out in post.
I've I don't think I've ever seen actually a Mickey Mouse movie.
You've seen Fantasia, haven't you?
Okay, yeah. But I would say a standard person has never seen a Mickey Mouse movie, yet they know, obviously, the name. And it's built at, an entire franchise around that character.
Mm-hmm. The entire...
Darth Vader...
Corporation.
World.
A whole world. Yeah.
A world.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, that's good. That's a good.
Are you arguing?
No. I was getting ready to move. It sounded like you were wrapping up there. I was just getting ready to move on. No, I'm not I'm not going to argue against Mickey Mouse. Last thing I need is Disney lawyers cracking down on us. We don't have a budget as it is.
I don't know. I think Bailey could crack down harder than the lawyers in this situation defending Mickey Mouse. But
Ryan, why don't you hit us with the one? What is one of the first ones on your Mount Rushmore?
So one of the first ones, me as a child growing up, I was a big horror movie fan. So it got me thinking, I've seen all of the Friday the 13th, the Nightmare on Elm Street, all the Halloween films. And I thought, well, of the three, Jason, Freddy, and Michael Myers, I kind of talked with Nick and some other people before the show, Alex, and I think Michael Myers is an absolute icon. People that don't necessarily have seen, when the first movie come out in the 70s?
1979, I want to say.
And even if you haven't seen the movies, you've seen the character around Halloween time on commercials, on food, on...
people are still dressing up as him.
People are still dressing up as him. And, I was kind of partial because I actually liked Jason more, and he's more my guy, the hockey mask. But I think overall, Michael Myers is more iconic than Jason or Freddy, in my opinion. But that's what I think, and I'm a huge horror movie guy, so I love the horror genre, and I actually just watched a couple horror movies this past weekend. They were really good. But, I think Michael Myers deserves to be up there because... we were talking, you were saying the Baby Driver experience.
Yeah,
so
there's a joke in there. I almost think the argument for Michael Myers is more the music behind it. If you hear that soundtrack, you may not even know that name is Michael Myers, but you hear that thing, and it's like the Jaws theme. You don't even know what Jaws is called, but you hear that theme, it's like, that's Jaws.
Yep. I would say that too with Friday the 13th. The it's probably not as big as the Michael Myers one, but it's very iconic. You hear it.
Are we going to debate these a little bit?
Oh, yeah, we can debate them.
This is my first pushback a little bit. Okay. As you were explaining Michael Myers, okay, I'm not a huge horror film fan.
Yep.
I don't I don't watch them a ton. Like I haven't watched like all the movies. I know who they are. Yeah. As you're explaining Michael Myers, I was picturing, for some reason I always get him and Jason mixed up. And so I'm like, that's why I was like, and then you said the hockey mask guy. I was like, oh, wait, okay, now I'm not picturing. So like,
yep.
Does he make it on the mountain?
Yep, I agree with that because
I don't know him.
A lot of people have mixed those two up in the past. And I think that comes down to Friday the 13th. Jason doesn't even get his hockey mask till the third movie. So the first two movies, one's burlap sack. In the first movie, it's his mom. So like, it's he's still like an iconic character, but Michael Myers has stayed the same for longer, and it's the William Shatner mask and like a blue jumpsuit. Like it's very plain, but
I'm not gonna argue too much about it.
No, but I do agree with you because a lot of people, if you're not into that genre, you might not know, but it's like, oh, I recognize him from somewhere, but I might not know who it is.
Yeah. I think my biggest thing that I use to like figure it out is if I asked a fifth grader who that is, would they know? Or if I asked
fifth graders know a lot nowadays, so I don't know.
Really do. They probably know more. They probably know more serial killers than I do at this point.
Yes.
Like
yes.
Yeah. Oh, then in that case, I guess I look at it as it's iconic, and it's I don't.
We never talked. That's a great point, though. We never even went into horror like genre when we talked about it.
No, and
that's like Chucky's pretty big too.
Yeah.
You see the doll. You might not have seen the movies, but you know the doll. It's like or the Pinhead guy from Hellraiser. But it's like that's kind of more I would say a niche area. But if you're in that area at all, you know exactly who Michael Myers is. Yeah.
So I did like a different criterion to figure out.
I'm excited to hear this.
The first one I think I'm going to talk about is quotable lines. I feel like we've been talking about the look. We've been talking about the sound. What about a line that you maybe haven't seen the movie, but you know the line? And I looked up, I think one that has quotable lines and is also a recognizable and iconic character, Dorothy Gale from The Wizard of Oz.
We talked about her, didn't we?
Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore, and there's no place like home. I looked it up. In the American Film Institute, they have like their top 100 quotable lines. Those two are in there. I think We're Not in Kansas Anymore is like in the top 10, if not the top 5. How many times have we heard someone say that? In real life, just in general.
Any like different movies.
Any road trip, anytime something goes weird, anything like that. Or there's no place like home, something like that. And you look at also this another aspect I looked at was how long the character has been around. Wizard of Oz came out in 1939. It was one of the first color pictures in Hollywood. It made Judy Garland just the megastar that we still know of her as today. I think you may not know all about Judy Garland, but you know about her in The Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I have to agree with you because that was actually on my list too. Like you said, fantastic movie. Even if you haven't seen the original, you may have seen some of the one-offs. They just did one. Well, I shouldn't say just did one. They did the one with James Franco back in.
Yeah, the technically sequel, but it's like a spin-off thing too. Yeah, that one was a while ago.
That was, and I remember. Side story. I thought the projector was broken because the beginning of the movie it's black and white and it's in a different aspect ratio. And it started, and I'm like.
What are we doing here, guys?
What are we doing wrong with the movie? Like, I honestly thought the projector was broken. Or like we were playing the wrong copy or something. And no, it's the way it started. But because if you watch the trailers, everything's in color. Everything's good. It just slipped my mind for a minute. It was bad.
Oh,
I would not argue with that.
No, not at all. I think I've
been thinking about this since December, guys.
Yeah.
Like, it's been all.
No, because that was like
for any birthdays I forgot out there, I apologize. This was the reason.
Yeah, I like bonded with my grandma over that. So for that to like extend generations, I feel like that's like the biggest test for an iconic character.
Oh yeah.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Let's take a quick pause here and talk about the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota. I keep saying that June this year is possibly the greatest month of summer blockbusters that I have seen in a long time. So you're going to want to keep up to date. You're not going to want to miss any of them. The best place to check all these great movies out is at the Marshall 6 Theater. They got great concessions, great seats, and great times to be had over there. So head on over to the Marshall 6 Theater so that way you don't miss out on any of this summer's great summer blockbusters.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Bailey, why don't you take us into the next round? What's another one you want to throw out there?
You're gonna put me on the spot.
It's a round table. I'm rotating. We're rotating here.
See, I feel like I'm gonna go for it. And I feel like you argued with me on this, so I would love your opinion.
Here we go.
That's where I go.
This is like a newer character. I'm going to say Harry Potter, and only for the fact that even if you hate the franchise, if someone's talking about it, you know who he is or what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say maybe that.
I'm going to argue for that for the same reason I brought up Dorothy.
Okay.
Daniel Radcliffe has been in many other roles. I guarantee you 50 years from now, he's only going to be remembered for that one.
Yes, I agree.
He's been in quite a bit, actually.
Yeah,
only ever think about Harry Potter, really.
Yeah.
True.
And some of his other movies weren't half bad, like Swiss Army Man.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of great movies. Like, he's actually got a pretty good career, but only ever think of him
always be Harry Potter.
as Harry Potter. So I would make it is an early pick. It is hard to judge the longevity and compare it to someone like Dorothy, but I think that would be something when we look 50 years from now, we're going to be like, oh yeah, Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. What else was he in? Well, it's like you go up to someone and ask them, they know Judy Garland. It's like, well, what else was she in?
Yeah.
Yep.
No clue.
That's a really good, yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd agree with it. It's you're right. It's newer, but it's Harry Potter. They're coming out with a new series. It was the only game. Well, I shouldn't say it like that. They had a game that almost rivaled Pokemon Go for a little bit, and
for like a week.
Yeah, the game bombed. But
now think about the new game that came out on PlayStation.
That's true.
Well, now it's on everything. But
this is my pushback.
Yep, I want to hear a counter here.
I love counters.
Let's hear it.
This is what I do.
I love hearing devil's advocate.
We're going to go to couples counseling after this.
No, it's always good to.
I can listen.
I just think about like we were actually like trying to watch all the Harry Potter movies with your parents because your dad has not seen them at all.
Yep.
He falls asleep during every single one. And that's not saying like it's just like the movies are a little like dark.
The first few are a little bit slower, yeah.
But my thing is, it's to him, it's not as like this is like the generational thing. Is like Star Wars, we could put it on. Every generation's super interested in it.
Yep.
And Harry Potter, I think that's like
iconic. You don't have to be interesting. It's like he's iconic
because
of the fact that my dad knew who Harry Potter was without I've ever seeing it.
Yeah,
that's a good point too.
That's where you teeter. Is what is your
But is there other
definition of iconic?
But if we put Harry Potter on the mountain,
my grandparents know who Harry Potter is. Have they ever seen anything that has to do with it? Heck no.
Yeah, but when we get onto the mountain here, it's like someone's got to not be on the mountain. There's 4 spots, so it's like Is Harry Potter more popular than some other characters we're going to mention? Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I guess
like you can have your personal.
We'll have to look at the rest of this list to find out. I feel like here now.
That's good.
That's what we're going into. Let's keep moving on then. Ryan, what else do you got? What else is on your list?
I'm going to go off of that with kind of a controversial one as well. I was thinking a lot about this, and this might not be going into the generational. Though some older folks might not know, but I feel that over the past 15 years or so, Iron Man has become a very iconic character. Not necessarily because I'm not basing it just strictly off the films, because he has also had a very storied past with comic books, and that's a whole different generation and people but that knew who Iron Man was. I didn't really know who Iron Man was until the movies came out. I wasn't a huge comic book kid when I was younger. But just the success, and obviously, like, I like Robert Downey Jr. I follow. After Iron Man, I kind of learned more about him and, like, his story and everything that went with it. But, I mean, any kid today, I would say almost anybody now, you show them a picture of Iron Man and they'll know who it is.
Yep.
Maybe not Robert Downey Jr., but an actual picture of Iron Man with the energy beam or whatever it is. And you're right. It's
called the arc reactor.
The arc reactor. Thank you. Thank you.
Call yourself a comic book fan.
But yeah, I think he deserves to be up there. If you think of the top character from the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, personally, I like Captain America better, but I think Iron Man is way more recognizable and more iconic than, especially with the.
Okay, but here's my devil's advocacy.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Do you think if you showed a picture to someone that's older, a picture of Iron Man or let's say Spider-Man, who would they recognize more?
Ooh, that's good. If you're going,
or Batman or Superman.
I will say, out of all the comic book characters, I don't think Iron Man would have been my first go about, but you do talk about, if we're staying on the kind of topic of recency.
Yeah. See,
there's been more Iron Man movies than Superman movies as of late. It's close, but there's been more Iron Man than Superman.
Yep.
Which
and
I think is a travesty.
Too, if you were to show just the logo of Spider-Man, Batman, and Iron Man, everybody's going to know, I would say, Batman more than the other two. If you're going off just comic books, Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's been around for longer than everybody else, I believe.
Superman was kind of one of the first
Superman was first.
Are you talking about Marvel?
I'm talking about Marvel, yeah.
Even then, he's, I want to say 60s, 70s, something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but.
Yeah. So but because of the films, I think he got launched into a different atmosphere than the other people. But
I was just going to say that. It's because I feel like, though, at a point, Superman was now in this generation, the younger kids, Iron Man is definitely more iconic to them than Superman is now. So it's it kind of goes against what I was just saying with Harry Potter.
Let's roll the tape. Let's sketch him in his life.
Yeah. No, but I just think it's a different conversation with Harry Potter versus superhero, whereas superheroes are they're everywhere. There's action figures, there's video games, there's
clothing.
There's Halloween costumes. I mean, you can be Harry Potter for Halloween. You know what I mean? Iron Man is very important in this
pop culture
generation thing.
And I would say too, since with your background at school, do you see more Iron Man stuff, Captain America stuff, Superman stuff?
I've never seen Superman stuff.
I was going to say, you definitely see more Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
But then breaking that down, what do you see more of? And that's, granted, that's just a certain age group.
Yep.
But that kind of bleeds into the rest of the world,
I think if we go off of what you guys done on this show, it has to be Hulk. The greatest superhero of all time.
Whoa.
What evidence do you have to back that up?
Didn't you do that on your...
No.
Yes,
the nerd bracket thing. No, you mean that thing that was totally...
No.
No.
It was...
You accidentally picked the Hulk.
Not accidentally. I was screwed over.
It was... Who's the strongest, not the greatest.
And even that I still argued against. But
Did you pick the Hulk because he's the biggest?
I didn't pick the Hulk.
Did I pick the Hulk? I don't remember.
You must have. I think you gave into peer pressure that day.
Roll the clip.
I think I did give into peer pressure.
Yeah, you did. You gave into peer pressure all pretty hard day that day.
And I'm not a huge comic book guy. I
don't know why.
Yeah, I think we could go on the superhero train forever.
Yeah.
I definitely think one should be up there. It's just hard.
Which one would be? Because now you look at Spider-Man, that, in my opinion, Tobey Maguire's the best Spider-Man. Some people believe that. We're
not talking about specific actors who play.
Yeah.
We're talking about the character itself. So multiple actors could play through it and everything like that.
Yeah.
But we'll save the best Spider-Man argument for another day when I want to piss off a whole other generation. I wasn't necessarily planning on this, but I'm gonna pick my next one is probably the youngest character, quote unquote, on my list, since we're kind of sticking with some recency stuff. Pikachu from Pokemon.
Oh,
wow.
Great pick.
We've talked about, we mentioned it a little bit in our conversation.
We might have.
Yeah.
Here's why I picked him. Merchandising.
Yeah.
Merchandising. Pokemon as a franchise is huge. I looked it up. Pokemon, I think, outranks even Star Wars in merchandising sales.
Wow, really?
in just about everything. And even, again, to go back to what the original kind of argument was, if I went up to like my sister or something like that, someone who I know has done nothing with Pokemon or anything like that, and I said, name this Pokemon. I lifted it up, it was Pikachu. And she's like, oh, that's Pikachu. Yeah. That's more than likely probably the number one anyone could name.
Yeah.
I agree.
Every single Pokemon advertisement has Pikachu in it. It doesn't matter what generation they're advertising. Pikachu's involved in the background somewhere along the line. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm talking about just Pikachu in general, because even in that Detective Pikachu movie, Ash wasn't even in that one, but Pikachu was in it.
Yeah.
You could not have done a Pokemon movie without Pikachu in it. Yeah. It just wouldn't have worked.
And I just learned recently, didn't they just now retire
Ash?
Ash just finally done. I mean, what 20?
He finally won a competition.
How much was it?
And the show's been going on since the 90s.
Yeah. And it's just and Pikachu's right alongside him, and you just those two characters have been just generational.
Yeah.
I could Pikachu's probably more.
I could have gone Ash Pikachu, but again, because Ash wasn't even in the Detective Pikachu, but that movie did well. And Pikachu was not only that, the title character. It's Pikachu that's the driving force here. Everyone loves Pikachu.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
Really
good. Derek, why don't you round us out in this round? Who is your next pick?
Okay. I have a theme kind of with mine. As in, I think classic characters are they should be on the Mount Rushmore. If they are known from the beginning of how cartoons or film and they're known now, I think that's more longevity is the most important thing. Bugs Bunny is in a lot of things, and not obviously a movie. I mean technically a movie, but,
couple,
very recognizable, iconic quotes, just lovable. Every generation knows Bugs Bunny, and characters from that. I guess that's why I kind of wore this today. But I think Bugs Bunny goes up there. My other one, I'm just gonna say my other one because I agreed with Mickey Mouse, and so now I get to kind of make my list make a little sense. Darth Vader doesn't really make sense on that, but I think he's just so iconic that I had to put him on there. But Bugs Bunny for sure would be on mine.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Looney Tunes have been around for a very long time, and they've had different adaptations for the shows, and they were in the most recent Space Jam movie. Bugs Bunny has been around. The What's Up Doc, everybody knows that. Yeah, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I debated Bugs Bunny as well. I think I did look it up, and Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny were both in that golden era of short animation films. I think Bugs Bunny outranked Mickey Mouse by at least 50 or so, maybe even 100 short films. So definitely have the numbers to back that one up there. So,
yeah, well, iconic.
But I mean, again, this was back in the day where it was 2 minutes, and they were like, "That's a film." That counts.
Yeah.
So
hey, we're heading back that direction.
The Nickelodeons.
How easy that would have been back. Oh god! If only we could make 2 minute shorts and be like, "We made a film." God, it'd be nice. Ryan, why don't you kick us off on your next pick?
Well, this is kind of just going off a shot in the dark because I had Dorothy on here. So one of the other ones I kind of mulled about. I don't know if he necessarily deserves to be up there, but a person I thought about was Rocky Balboa.
Oh,
because
that's a good one.
Those films came out. Everybody loved them. There's a statue of him in Philadelphia at the top of the. I don't know if it's the actual staircase that he ran up or a different one.
I think it's at the bottom now, and it's in that area.
It's in that area, yeah. And there started a whole new trilogy with a different actor, or not a different actor, but almost like a subset. They're not technically the Rocky movies, but they're kind of Rocky movies.
They're in the RCU, as I like to call it, the Rocky Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. So, and you do the, you kind of do that. People know what you're talking about. Or fights, or not fight scenes, but training montages, especially in a meat locker. People know what you're talking about.
Every movie that
goes back to the music thing that you're saying.
Yeah.
Every movie that has a training montage, they're like, "Oh, Rocky training montage," and go. It's a cliche at this point, but it started with Rocky, and a huge part of it is because of his character and everything.
This is really random. Of why I just don't like the Rocky movies is when we came back. This super random story.
We live for random stories
So
here.
perfect.
Yeah.
Right. In high school, we had to drive far distances for like football games.
Yep.
This one year, I don't know why exactly the politics of that, but we had to go to Bismarck, which was like a 4.5-hour drive
Yeah.
from Detroit Lakes. And on the way home, I think we watched 2 or like 1.5 of the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like I associate the Rocky movies with like having the worst stomachache after eating Papa Murphy's pizza and like smelling that butter garlic for like hours when it's just on a bus full of just smelly
guys.
So it's instantly associated with that. And I don't know. It was Anyways, Rocky,
That would be
he's
another,
iconic though.
That would be another interesting topic of movies that are ruined for stupid reasons.
There we go.
Because I know I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I know I have experiences like that too, where I just like hate this movie. Nothing the movie did, just the environment I was around at that time.
Like all your points make sense, but I'm just like, no, he's not going on my Mount Rushmore. I'm sorry.
As God is my witness, Balboa will never be on here.
He's not making it. Nope.
All right, I'll move on to my next one here. Doing some more of my research. I was looking again at some of the oldest characters. Obviously, a lot of them started in literature. This one is one of the earliest written characters. Has shown up in, I believe, the Guinness World Record for most on-screen appearances. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh.
Originally, I wasn't going to go with this because you think of Sherlock Holmes, he's a very centered around London character. It's not very often that there was like that one spinoff show on ABC where it was basically a Sherlock character, but he was in New York or something like that. But it's almost always in or around London. So I didn't want to put him on there because it's very localized. But again, that many appearances, and we're still writing and creating new stories, and still so many actors at the same time are playing this character. You had Benedict Cumberbatch show at the same time the Robert Downey Jr. thing was going on, at the same time that more books were being written, biographies, all this other stuff, the historical significance around him and everything. The guy who wrote the stories was working on the Jack the Ripper case, I think, at one point or another.
Yeah.
He was friends with Houdini. Like, the dude's an insane guy if you look into him a little bit. And also, again, quotable line, elementary, my dear Watson. I feel like everyone's used that at least once in a while if they've like figured something out, maybe. So
I like your thought process and all this. I wish we would have probably thought a little bit harder about.
I take notes.
To the thing. I'm like, if I asked a kid though, would they know who that is?
I think they would, just because of the Robert Downey Jr. movie, maybe.
Maybe. I would just based off of that.
There's been cartoon versions of them, I think, too, probably, but I don't know, maybe not.
And
much.
Stage shows.
Yeah.
I know some people have acted in stage shows for Sherlock Holmes.
Yep. Okay, so did you say Mickey Mouse was kind of your next one, or were you just kind of talking about him with Bugs Bunny?
No, that was gonna be one of mine. That was gonna be my George Washington.
That's your George Washington.
Yeah, of iconic characters, and you kind of touched on it all. So it, goes without saying any more, I guess.
All right, then Bailey, take us home on this round. What's your third pick? I guess essentially here.
I feel like I'm gonna go with James Bond.
Oh.
I've never seen any of the movies, but I know who that is.
And that's kind of how we based this off of. So I think I think it's a fair argument there.
And
sorry.
No, it goes back to like, when did those movies start coming out?
1960s.
Yeah,
I believe
so you
was
have
when
like
Dr. No came out.
When my grandparents are like watching movies, and my parents grew up with that, and like, I'm not watching the movies, but I clearly know what it is, and I feel like kids still kind of know in quotable lines.
Is it hard? Is it hard for him to be as iconic because
there's so many actors?
There's so many of the actors,
I don't
just
think
based on
so.
how the story kind of goes, or is it?
I think that makes him more iconic.
Okay,
Because if you want to talk about generations, this is a conversation I had with my dad when we were kind of talking James Bond afterwards and everything. We had a special on here, and we were talking about he says, Roger Moore was mine because that's the one I grew up with. Daniel Craig is mine. That's the one I grew up with. There will constantly be new actors. So James Bond has the best chance to be the most iconic because they've set themselves up to go on forever at this point. Sherlock Holmes, there's been different actors playing him throughout all the years. So there are different versions that other generations, other demographics, other groups of people can latch on to here.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you take someone like Mickey Mouse. I mean, other voice actors have played Mickey Mouse, I'm sure, through the years, but it's the same voice pattern. It's the same character. There's no real difference. The Mickey Mouse you're seeing today is the same you saw way back when. So I say the different actors actually makes it a much better argument for being more iconic, and kind of making me think I wish I'd put that on this list now.
Wow.
I didn't even think of that. Hey, we talk a lot about movies on this channel, but sometimes the ones we talk about aren't the most accessible. That's where the Marshall-Lyon County Library comes in handy. They have a great collection of physical media, as well as a couple of online services with many, many options for movies, TV shows, and documentaries. It's easy. Just get your own library card at the Marshall-Lyon County Library and gain access to their large variety of movies, TV shows, and of course, books. Also, be sure to check back every month as we here at Popcorn Bucket List make specific movie recommendations based on a monthly theme. This month, we're taking a look at the most underrated animated movies. So head on over to the Marshall-Lyon County Library for some of our favorites and check out the channel to get even more movie recommendations. And now, on with the show! Let's move in. Any other thoughts on those ones at all? Or can we move into the final round here?
I think we can move into the final round.
All right. All right. And I didn't realize I was going to start this one when I started this. And so for my number one, and I don't mean this as a joke.
Uh-oh.
It's going to sound like I'm going to mean it as a joke. Jesus Christ.
What?
Okay, he is a movie. He's shown up in movies. So he's a movie character. Here's a couple stats for you. There is a Jesus movie out there, not the one you're thinking of, but there is a Jesus movie out there that has the Guinness World Record for most translated movie of all time. It's been translated into thousands of languages, I believe. So there it has that worldwide imprint. Also, Passion of the Christ, I believe today is still the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time.
Okay.
So
of
clearly,
all time, all R-rated movies.
I believe so.
That's the number one. I know that's
what it says on Box Office Mojo.
Crazy.
So I wasn't just saying that just to say, "Hey, Jesus Christ." There's stats behind that. In my opinion. So
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, but we talked about this on our walk. Can you have a real person be a character, an iconic character?
Like, are those biographies? Biopics.
What are characters if not based off of real life inspirations?
Darth Vader?
He was based off Hitler.
What?
Again, not comparing him to Abraham Lincoln. We're just going to go back and point it out. I know
Did you not get the Nazi symbolism behind the empire?
The whole empire is like symbolism for Nazi Germany.
Voldemort was based off Hitler.
Yeah.
Is that another one?
Of what?
Voldemort.
Oh. I don't know.
One
probably
guy.
Harry Potter
we
more,
can talk about
but
this all day.
Interesting.
Okay.
I would argue all characters are based. If you ask any writer, more than likely, a lot of their characters started with the inspiration of someone they knew, someone they met, someone they've talked to. Might not even have been a long interaction, but everything is based off of some sort of real life experience.
But then I feel like this just puts it into a whole nother level, because then you could go as far as
why do you think I had as my number one?
You could go as far as then going like Charlie Chaplin, or do you consider that a character compared to Mickey Mouse?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Because Charlie Chaplin, the actor, on-screen actor, was Charlie Chaplin, different from what he was like to everyone else. Charlie Chaplin was like the stumbling physical comedy guy, whereas in real life he was the drug drinking addict.
Yeah, he's kind of
if you look at his real life,
he's kind of a bad dude.
Yeah,
he was a bad
I'm
dude.
not familiar with.
It was Hollywood in 1920s.
Yeah,
everyone was a bad dude. You can't put that on Charlie. That was everyone. No, Charlie Chaplin, the on-screen actor, was a character that he played.
Yeah.
As opposed to Charlie Chaplin, the man that he was.
Yep.
I understand what you're saying. I guess just in my head, I'm strictly going fictional. Can be inspired by someone.
Well, depending on who you ask, Jesus Christ may be fictional. So, I'm not saying I am,
political.
Mom. Just don't call me. I'm saying other people say that. I'm just saying he's shown up in movies.
Very interesting point. I like it.
Stats
And actually, I want to go back to that. Sure, it's like Sherlock Holmes, Jesus Christ, and then Gandhi, right? I think Gandhi is the third most popular person in film. Number one is Sherlock Holmes. Number two is Jesus Christ. And
then
Gandhi.
Gandhi snuck up in there.
Gandhi
somehow.
has like 1,000
Don't
film
ask-
credits.
yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, just think of every movie that's ever come out. Some of them have like real, like I would say, like Christian values, like Christian movies. But then you also have movies like The Last Temptation of Christ, where he's a character in it. There's other films that use him as a real man, not as like the Christ head figure of a church kind of a thing. But it's still the same character. So like, yeah, but he's got a lot of films to his name. So
So that's my reasoning behind that, I guess.
it's interesting.
It just
Never
opened up
thought-
a whole new ballpark.
I
for
could have
me.
guessed a million times, and I don't think I would have gotten.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Could have given you 100 guesses. Wouldn't have, probably
Nope.
picked that. Derek, why don't you continue the conversation here? What's your next one? What's your
My
I
last
guess,
one?
Your last one? Yeah,
My Teddy Roosevelt
yeah, you Teddy Roosevelt.
of, no offense to him, but I just learned actually that he put himself in Mount Rushmore.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So this is
He knew the architect.
Yeah.
That's the only
Yeah.
reason why he's on Mount
yeah,
Rushmore.
which is cool. That's that kind of goes a little bit with this character where they never really are like, I don't know, in my mind they're not the most like. Everybody know they're iconic. They have to be iconic to be on my mountain. Known by everybody, but they're always like trying very hard to get into the spotlight. They're in a lot of things, like random things. And that's Kermit the Frog.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you
Okay.
were a Muppet hater.
I am.
I brought it up
really
and you
am.
said, heck no.
No, and but
No,
it
that's-
doesn't mean he's not iconic.
They have Christmas albums.
They're just
got-
in everything,
Yep.
and that just
Yeah.
seems like a Teddy Roosevelt move. Now that I learned more about how the Mount Rushmore. was
Kermit knows
created there.
people, man.
Yeah.
Kermit knows people.
Yeah, and he gets in on everything. He's on
Yeah.
talk shows. He's on he's
Yeah.
just he's out all over the place, and
Yep.
so Teddy Roosevelt was all over the place too. And he is. I didn't know this was gonna be a comparison. Turn this into like a comparison of presidents, but that's not what this is all
I think
about.
you
guess.
turned that into
I
that.
did, yeah,
That
exactly.
was-
So-
you started that. I was just gonna go in
I was
order or
thinking they're
whatever.
important, iconic. You see
Yeah.
Kermit the Frog, you hear him, you
Yep. The voice.
the voice is iconic. Some people say I sometimes
And-
sound like him too.
Yeah.
It's just,
And even he's gotten relevant in the meme culture.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
There's a lot
Oh.
of like the
the
one,
one
where-
like
That's a
looking out the
great
glass
point.
window.
yeah, or falling out the window.
Generational. Oh yeah, the falling. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Or laying on the ground. Like it's just you can go on and on. Generational.
I was picturing the
A
T one,
jokester.
just because
Yes.
for the longest time I didn't know what that meant. Bailey, why don't you keep it going here? What's your final pick here?
I always get stuck on 4. I don't know if I have one. I have a lot of like, I don't know. Because now that you said a real person, I'm going to like Shirley Temple or something.
Well, but I was talking more about the character in those movies.
But, like,
I guess.
Isn't that her character in all the movies? I don't actually
Yeah,
know. I
I
just grew up
yeah.
watching the advertisement on TV.
I mean, I guess you
absolutely
could make the Charlie Chaplin, the
despised
same Charlie
that
Chaplin
show, so I don't know.
argument there, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I really have a hard time picking because I go back to like iconic franchises and trying to pick a character from that. So like Jack Sparrow, maybe.
Yeah, you did mention that to me one time.
Yeah,
Or, like,
Pirates was pretty
Smeagol.
big. Let's go. I told Nick earlier.
go.
I said
we almost
If-
made it.
if
We
we-
almost made it.
I said we
Without
could
a
do
mention of
we could do Lord of the Rings, but if we all picked at least 1 or 2 characters, then we'd be fine.
Yeah.
But if I can't put a lot of them in there, then I'm not going to bring it up. But
Yeah.
Lord of the
We
Rings.
we
let's
almost
go.
made
And
I
it.
know.
Smeagol is one of the more like people know the hobbits, they know Gandalf, but it's like kind of like that's Gandalf, right? Yeah, but Smeagol, people make mean comparisons to other people that look like Smeagol, and I've seen that a lot on the internet. So yeah,
Is this a
Let's
good
go.
time to mention I don't know who Smeagol is?
Okay, but if someone said My Precious, you'd know exactly what that was.
Oh, that's that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Okay, yeah. I just
Yeah.
didn't know that was his name. I just always knew him as Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
Is
So-
it, so is
Great,
that your pick?
I
Is that the one you
might
going?
put that one in there, yeah.
great
All right.
pick, great pick. Let's go.
All right, Ryan, close us out.
So-
What's your last one?
I kind of had to go back and forth too. Like you said, I was really leaning into Charlie Chaplin. That's where, because I enjoyed that. That was my pick. And then the more, actually, since we started talking and since we kind of more things going, you know what I'm going with? Super Mario.
Oh,
I figured if anyone was going to bring that up, it was going to be you.
Because when we were talking about movies and games, and especially when we started talking about Bugs Bunny, I was like, you know what? Mario's been around for a long time, and I grew up
genre things.
I grew up loving Mario.
Yeah.
I played Mario 64, my best game, I think, and best Mario game out there. But Super Smash Brothers, you might not have played any games, but you have what's the Switch? Mm-hmm. If you play Super Smash Bros. Or Rainbow Road, if somebody says Rainbow Road to you, you instantly think Mario Kart. Mm-hmm. Whether you played on that GameCube, Nintendo Switch,
oh my God.
I instantly
3DS.
get angry because that track sucks. But
yeah, so like to me, Mario is one of those characters that's been around for so long. And you're right, he might have only had like 1 or 2 voice actors. Doesn't really say any much, but like the Let's Go and
he's
some
iconic,
of that stuff.
He's an iconic character.
Iconic character.
Gosh, that's a good one.
And like that movie came out this year, and it smashed. It smashed.
Literally.
Yep.
It smashed.
Yep.
Like
it did.
Good
like
pun.
he does.
Good pun.
It did. It was.
Does
great.
he do that? Okay. I do know. I love Mario.
Yeah.
I would argue Mario walked so that Pikachu could run.
Oh.
Like it really was a huge. It really was a huge first domino that fell. So that way we can get bigger and bigger games and more game characters, and then Sonic and all that other stuff too. Yep. So, yeah, I figured if anyone would bring that one up, it would be you. But there you go.
Great.
But I have love for Charlie Chaplin too. You were close, but maybe if we would have shot this on Wednesday, I might have said Charlie Chaplin.
There's one or two that I was debating on that I wish I could have put in here, but maybe we'll have to have like an honorable mention or another round or something like that one of these days. But yeah, there it is, Mount Rushmore, most iconic characters. Yep. Even though I used Indiana Jones to introduce this, none of us picked him. Feel a little bad.
He's very iconic too.
He's not more popular than Jesus, I don't think. So that's
no. Just the Beatles.
I don't know. For a while there, Indiana Jones was my religion, so he found the Holy Grail. He is Jesus, as far as I'm concerned.
There we go.
But on that note, let's move right into the weekly preview. Talk about Indiana Jones, as that is the new movie coming out this weekend. Going back to formula, Henry Jones Jr. has to stop the Nazis once again. This time, with the help of his goddaughter, they must find an ancient artifact that can rewrite history. Question for you guys. If you could change one moment in history, if you had this dial, you could change one moment, what would it be?
Ooh,
we just got done watching 1963. And
great show.
Great show.
I will never be changing a single thing.
Nope, for that reason. Yeah.
Okay, without consequences.
Without consequences.
I feel like this is controversial.
Isn't this
Go ahead.
I'm going to say the wrong thing and then
I'm gonna make up for my my Abraham Lincoln, Darth Vader comparisons, and say I would probably just try to figure out a way that Hitler doesn't get involved in whatever he does. You know, everything that he is a part of.
I was gonna say the Holocaust.
That could be somehow. Stop that.
Yeah,
that would be a good way to
let him get into art school.
There we go.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's the answer right there. That's the answer, right? That's the one, right? Mine would be December 1st, 2019, but that's just for me to know. Anyways, Indiana Jones is he's one of my favorite movie characters. I know we didn't mention him in the most iconic thing, but I remember when I first saw this movie, I fell in love with this guy, with this franchise. Think about it. His profession is archaeological professor. He's a Poindexter teacher guy, and he became the greatest action hero of the 80s cinema. Think about that for a second. The 80s has some of the greatest characters of all time.
It's true.
Yeah.
And this guy, the archaeological professor, became like one of the most popular and best known out of all of them. How did that happen? Like I've stayed up late at night thinking about this, probably more than I should. But I think a huge part of it might be because of Harrison Ford. And I don't know. Can this franchise really continue without him? It kind of seems like this is going to be his actual last one.
It sounds like this will be his last one, but they're going to try to... Well, I thought that's what they were trying to do with Shia LaBeouf years ago, and that kind of was...
Yeah, we don't talk about that one. We don't talk about that.
That one's... But I do have to have some criticism because I heard that he's getting de-aged, so they're going to make him look younger.
For some flashback scenes, yeah.
Just for that, not for the rest of the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, if it's just for that,
it's just
I'm
for
okay
some
with
flashback
that.
scenes, yeah.
But I did say they did have to take out a bunch of jokes that kind of made fun of Harrison Ford's age. Still don't like that. I don't like that.
You wish they'd kept the jokes in?
Yeah.
Whose decision was that?
Harrison Ford said, "No, we're not putting this in the script. You need to take it out."
Oh.
And then they took it out. So that's why and then the whole de-aging thing came out. So like I'm still going to see it and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. But sometimes like Harrison Ford, you're right, is such an icon. Just let it go. Or like enjoy it. Mm-hmm. It's, you don't have to fool us in thinking that you're actually jumping car to car. Like we know you're not doing that. Like it's, you don't need to pretend. It's just, I don't know. I'm kind of cynical, I guess, a little bit that way, but I'm very practical too. So just let it go. Just be yourself. Love yourself. Be yourself, Nick.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Also coming out this weekend, Gillman Teenage Kraken. I know. We're really, that's an interesting segue. From a treasure hunting movie to an animated movie about a teenager who can turn into a kraken. Okay, follow me on this one. A teenager finds out that she's descendant of Kraken royalty and that she has to beat up the evil mermaids of the sea. Look, I know I'm not doing that movie justice with the description. The trailer actually looked kind of fun, though.
Really?
It actually looked a little heartwarming and everything. It's basically the Little Mermaid mixed with like the Aquaman movie with Jason Momoa. Because
but animated.
Yeah, but animated.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it 2D or 3D?
3D animation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is DreamWorks, right?
DreamWorks Animation. Yeah. They've had a few hits here and there. Arguably Shrek, I think, was probably one of the bigger ones, but
yeah, arguably.
Yeah,
Shrek should have been on the list.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
See, this is gonna come to your mind all day.
Save it for round two, maybe. Yeah, I do think there's an interesting plot twist to this movie because when you look at kind of the mythology of mythological aquatic creatures, most of the time mermaids are kind of evil and krakens like 100% of the time are evil. This time they are actually kind of flipping the script. They're saying the krakens in this case, they're actually the good guys. They're like protecting the world from the evil mermaid army. Look, I know the more and more I talk about this out loud, the less and less it doesn't sound good. But the trailer did.
I can't even wrap my head around.
I know it's. Let's just move on. Let's just move on. There's nothing else I could say about this movie to justify it. I don't think.
I don't think I'll be watching that movie.
I feel like I have to now just to defend it. I feel bad for this movie because it looks better than it does on paper. Anyways, also coming out this weekend, Netflix movie called Nimona, not pneumonia, like the sickness.
Yep.
Nimona. Another animated movie. This one follows a shapeshifter who wants to become the sidekick to a reported villain. But not everything is as it seems here. It seems like the villain in this case, he's kind of accused for a crime that he may or may not have committed. But it doesn't really matter. This shapeshifter, she wants to become the sidekick to this villain. But I think the interesting thing here is overall the question this movie asks is, are villains born villains or are people pushed to become villains? So that seems like that's kind of the theme here. It seems like both of them, although they are technically villains or are trying to be villains now, was it because that's how they were born that way, or has society kind of pushed them to this point?
Isn't that just like a synopsis of Joker?
It's a good argument for the Joker, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Is that another iconic character?
I debated on Joker as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I would see that one before I'd see the other one.
Yeah, this one does look a lot better. And the animation style does look a little bit more crisp as well. It's kind of that... It's kind of like similar what Spider-Verse did, where it's almost like a 2D, 3D hybrid. I can't really explain it that well, but it looked a little bit nicer and a little bit cooler as well. And the other way I kind of described it to you was it kind of gave off that Dragon Ball Z feel. I don't know if any of you guys saw any Dragon Ball Z, the anime or whatever.
Yep.
Like how there's these huge countrysides and just this open area, but also there's these like futuristic cities. So it's kind of a combination of like an old-timey feel, but also the futuristic technology with it as well. It's like a mixture of both, so that kind of covers all the bases there. But that is everything coming out this weekend. Let's wrap things up. I know it's been a long episode here today. Let's do some number one recommending. Do either of you guys got one you want to start off with, or anything you've seen recently?
I'm currently watching this show. I started watching it on a flight back and forth. Welcome to Wrexham. It's about Ryan Reynolds and Tom Mulaney, I think his last name is, from Always Sunny.
Always Sunny, yeah.
Yeah, they bought a soccer team in
The
Wales.
soccer team did good this year, didn't it?
Yeah,
or something like that.
yeah,
I
they
read
did.
about that.
So that kind of got me on the rabbit hole. Watched. It's really good. I sometimes get kind of bored with documentaries sometimes when it's 40-minute episodes. It's a lot of filler conversations with people, and it's just 20 minutes. Most of the episodes are, and it goes pretty quick. And
watching that on Netflix.
Hulu. It's on Hulu.
It's on Hulu.
Gotcha.
All right.
Yeah. We also watched another movie. Gosh, was it Chip?
That's mine.
Oh, well, you didn't remember the thing, so I was gonna.
Rescue Ranger.
Rescue Ranger.
Chippendale.
Rescue Rangers.
Sorry, I
Came
stole
out in
your thunder.
2022.
The movie or the original TV show?
No, it's a movie that just came out.
Yeah,
It's
I've seen that one.
Where it's
Andy
the two
Samberg.
animation styles.
Yeah.
Multiple, more than that.
Who is it? Andy Samberg.
Andy
and
Samberg and John Mulaney are
Yes.
the voices
Gosh,
of those
it's
two.
So
it is
good.
so good. Highly recommend.
That one's a good one too, yeah. Just to go back to the Welcome to Wrexham thing, breaking today, I think Ryan Reynolds is expanding his way into the sports world. He bought into an F1 team.
Oh.
Ooh, so that caught my eye.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
A Nick and Derek crossover.
Yeah.
Well,
There we go.
it'll get me to watch soccer. It'll get you to watch F1. There we go.
There we go.
Actually, I need to start watching F1 too. Ryan, why don't you continue us on here? What are you recommending?
All right, so this week I watched Reality. It is a show about reality winners, I think his name is. Winners. She was not an NSA agent, but agent for the government that leaked documents and got caught. So it's about an hour and 20 minutes or so, but the actual film is taken strictly from the FBI's recording. When they talked to her, when they interviewed her, they recorded at her house. And the whole time is her talking is just word for word transcript from the actual tapes. So it's really interesting to see the way how they shot it, because they obviously they knew the house where it was and what it looked like and all of that, but everything that they were doing in between the talking, the directors or producers had to make okay, we can only hear what they're saying. What would your actions be in between this scene? So it was really good, and it was a good story because she got in trouble for leaking information related to the 2016 election. So that kind of plays into it too. But it's basically two FBI agents and her talking in a room for a majority of the time, and it's really good. I really enjoyed it.
What's that on?
HBO or Max?
It's now called Max.
It's on Max.
The streaming service called Max.
So if you got that, definitely check it out. We had the trailer for it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we talked about it recently.
But it was really good. Really good.
Mine that I'm going to talk about, it was kind of a last minute one. It wasn't the one I was planning on watching, but I was going to catch up on some movies on Peacock, and one caught my eye called Polite Society. This kind of blew up on the internet, I want to say a couple weeks ago, a month ago, kind of internationally. Long story short, it's about this sister who's trying to protect her older sister. She thinks she's making a mistake and everything. It's got a lot of interesting action scenes. It's got a lot of comedy to it, and it's kind of a heist movie, if that makes sense. It's got a lot in the blender. It almost, and if I were to describe kind of everything it was trying to do, it would sound like it's trying too much. There's too many ingredients in this smoothie here. It's not going to taste too good, but it actually blends it pretty well, I think. I laughed a little bit. The action isn't revolutionary, but it's very much like that kind of Jackie Chan, slow-mo, kind of almost floating in the air, comically fighting, but still, you can tell every hit that's there's actual, impact to it and everything. So there's some pretty cool fight scenes and everything, too. And like I said, a lot of the acting is pretty comedic as well. So it was not very well-known. It kind of just flew under the radar, and then I happened to read about it and saw it there, checked it out. Was not disappointed. So,
all right.
That is going to do it for us here on this episode of Popcorn Bucket List. To check out some of the movies we've talked about on this episode and past ones, head on over to the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota. And for a few more of our movie recommendations, check out the Marshall Lyon County Library, also here in Marshall. For myself, Derek, Bailey, Ryan, we'd like to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you at the movies.